So, so today I will talk about the role of women in my life and what are the roles they have played and what did they contribute personally to my life and to my understanding, to my knowledge, to my upbringing, and to my growth, uh, and to my way of thinking. And I think this kind of question is fundamentally important in the days of women. So this is the time where women come together and say, we have made significant progress in several areas in terms of equality and equal pay and getting access to the job market and working and raising a family and having some, let me say, parenting vacation and so on. But I think the fundamental question that everyone should ask himself, what was the role of women in your life? So I will shed some light on the role of women in my life from my personal view. So in my early childhood, my interaction with women was manifested with my mom and my aunts and some of my female relatives. There was not, we did not, I played for a very short time in our neighborhood with some young girls, but it was not significant time. It was a very small amount of time. And what I can say that in my early upbringing, my mom was the most important mom figure, female figure in my life, and she was playing the role of feeding, she was playing the role of parenting, she was playing the role of education. And different people have similar views, and definitely she was the one who's caring for your clothes, she was the one who was teaching you how to go to toilet, and she was the one who is telling you how to do how to do different things. So she had a significant role in your early upbringing. But I think after some stage, her contribution to your life was somehow manifested with making your clothes and feeding you. And I am talking from a person coming from an Arabic background. So I did not have any female teachers. I did not have any female friends. And I did not have any female co-workers in any activity. I did not even play sport with some women. So even if it was table tennis, I did not play table tennis with women. So some people say, oh, sports is a very significant. Even, let me say, I would say even puzzle games. I remember very rare times that I used to play with women when I was in my early childhood. So I did not play. So I played a little bit, but not much. It was small, very, very little time. So, and I think with that being in mind, female figures did not represent a significant role to my upbringing and to my way of thinking. So they did not contribute to how I view the world, because most of these ideas were coming from men, whether they were Islamic scholars or whether they were teachers or whether they were or it was a father or it was a relative of father. So I think teachers play an important role in conveying the role of women, and also colleagues, or even colleagues or even friends. So you don't have friends, you don't have colleagues, you don't even have teachers who are female figures. So then all of your life is around male, and most probably your upbringing and the way of thought and most of your ideas will be coming from male figures. Maybe it's a different case for females. So that's what is important. So if you ask a female student, or if you ask my sister what was the role of females in her life, maybe she would say they played a more significant role in their life and they have made a much better contribution to the way of thinking. But personally, for me as an individual, as for us, they did not play much role. Now, in the until let me say until the age of 18. So let me say then when we reach the university stage, now you have female colleagues and you have some female lecturers and you have some let me say some activities where you can interact with women. So the question is, what was the role and what was the contribution of women at that time? And I would say that in many cases, there was no influence from any lecturer or from any female lecturer on my life. For example, I was taught by a doctor called Maha Alqam, and she was maybe responsible partially for the supervision of the first part of my graduation project. And I don't think she made much contribution to my project. And if I thought about, there was another one teaching me structural analysis too. I was most of the time absent. And I can't remember her first name, but her family name is in memory. I can't think that she made also significant role in my understanding of structures. But I think in terms of colleagues, because I have some kind of Islamic view on things that you should not be really interacting much with women, I think my interactions were very limited. But what I can say that I had some kind of admiration for some women who managed to convey themselves outside the regular framework of a family woman that is responsible for feeding, for caring of the male figures in her family, to a woman that has her own independent life, that she care for her studies, that she care for different activities, that she has maybe some kind of part-time work. Not because I appreciate the work that she's doing, but I appreciate that she managed to build a picture or an image around herself that is very much different than what I am used to see in my previous life. Now, let me give you some example of what happened when I moved to Britain. So when I moved to Britain, there was significant interaction with many, let me say, women as colleagues, as friends, as, let me say, as neighbors, uh, as lecturers. And I would definitely say there are still the male lecturers left more impact, more profound impact on me rather than the female figures. And I would say that one of the roles that I liked about females is the role of relationships mentor. I used to have a colleague who is much older than me, but I used to ask her what does people like and what does people don't like, and how do people like to do this and how do people like to do that. And the way she responds and the way she talked and the way she conveyed the information was so interesting and so engaging that I remember that she made an impact on me somehow, but it's still a minor impact. I dealt with housemates. I lived with housemates who are females, but it did not make really a much difference. I lived with, let me say, I dealt with customers who are women, and they are difficult, but they are manageable. And I dealt with, let me say, with co-workers and colleagues. So I have hired women in two companies. So I have hired women in my first company, and I have hired women in my second company. And I have hired women from different nationalities. So I have hired women from Sri Lanka. I have hired women from India. I have hired women from Denmark. And while we had a conflict with the Danish one, but in general, I don't think it's the problem. I think from my understanding that female figures cannot take much workload and work pressure as much as male figures. However, they are more stable in the work environment and they are less they are a less source of conflicts. So they will contribute less to conflicts and to disagreements within the company, and their existence create a layer of ethical and professional behavior within the work environment. However, I think it's for many women to ask themselves, what was your contribution in the work environment, and what was your contribution on the male figures around the world? Uh, and still, I still, until this age, I don't have a female role model who can be interesting for me from a human perspective. And maybe Melinda Gates would be very interesting, but I would, because she did not, as many people think, maybe she built a humanitarian organization and she built a foundation. That was a lot of work, which I don't know. I still respect the one who built Microsoft more. I'm inclined to do that. And maybe because the environment did not allow for that. I don't know, but it's for women to think about what was their impact on the male figures around the world, and on their Women Day, and what they would like to see, what kind of changes they would like to see. So there are a lot of complaining about harassment and gender-based violence, and there are some talk about equality and equal pay, and there are some talks about women in leadership position, and there are a lot of talks. So, for example, do I have Angela Merkel is a great leadership figure, but because maybe I understand German, I really respected her position on Syrian refugees, and I think that she has, let me say, somehow put her political popularity on some level of risk due this move. However, it has gained great respect. So I would definitely respect this from Angela Merkel. I'm not sure about Michelle Obama. Also, I'm not very sure about Theresa May. So if you ask me, do you like Theresa May more than David Cameron, or do you think Theresa May is a better leader than David Cameron, or do you think Theresa May has a much better presence than Boris Johnson? Well, it's good questions, but I am talking from a person who convey things personally. Still, until this age, maybe I am somehow immune to women influence in terms of thought, or women influence on my life. Even I'm inclined to hear women who are smart more than men, but I would say it's very important for women to understand what is their role to the upbringing of the male figures of the world, and how they can show some level of they have to show that they have significant contribution, or they have a great stake in the current mentality and the current ideological frameworks that are ruling the world and controlling the behavior of the citizens of the world. And this somehow, it does not exist. And you don't want someone who's giving you your rights as a charity. You want someone who's giving you your rights because you already deserve these rights, and you deserve much more than these rights. And he will automatically be looking at you as a role model, and he will be always looking at your contribution. And with that, it's not a conversation against women, it's a conversation to motivate women to look at themselves and to see how we can be, how can we have more impact on humans. And let me say, I had an interaction with one female scientist, and it was the worst interaction with female in my life. It was the worst interaction with scientists, with female scientists. It was a Saudi female scientist, and it was the worst interaction with a human being in my life. So let's think. What is your influence? What's your impact? We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, new topic. Let's talk about it. Take care.